Hey, welcome to our show. I'm Darius A. Stanton at the Lights of the Roundtable. Great day.
Great day. I'm Queen Darlene Brown.
And I'm Marcus Johnson, and together we are the Lights of the Roundtable, and we are welcoming you to our Lights of the Roundtable experience. We talk about everything from relationships to health, wealth, education, and everything that will shine light on your wellness journey. As they say, hashtag the lights are on. So Darius, what are we shining some light on today?
Today, Marcus, we are shining light on a brother who is powerful and speaks to the power of words. He is none other than Messiah Ramkissoon. What's up, brother? Peace and love. Welcome to the Lights of the Roundtable.
Peace and love, y'all. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
No doubt about it. Hey, listen, we are going to start right off with the project from Eye of Freedom, which is now your most recent project, taking the hip hop world by storm. And ladies and gentlemen, check him out. Messiah Ramkissoon, Eye of Freedom.
Welcome to the Lights of the Roundtable podcast with your co-host, Marcus Johnson, Darlene Brown, and Darius A. Stanton. Featuring special souls from around the globe, these cool, organic, and vibrant personalities come together to discuss the importance of physical health, spiritual strength, and mental well-being, all in an effort to empower our communities one dialogue at a time. Are you ready? Now is the time to break away from the hustle, bustle, and everyday struggles of life. Come shift your focus and flip the switch on a world less bright. The lights are on.
It's crazy how I wrote this song like 3 days ago. And here I am today on my way to the studio. I get a call from my supervisor saying the contract that we work with might not get renewed. They just got word today. And I said, you know what, I can't even trip this. I got vision. I got vision, baby. That's a fact. Being empowered don't mean be a politician. Be about a dollar, you could be about a vision. A vision is worth more when you earn what you work for. To open your first store, to open that world tour. The eye of freedom is half open, have vision. I know they tell you have hope, but have vision. A vision is worth more. Stop using the word poor, for one can never be broke who has vision. When you got vision, can't be around those who lack purpose. That's like having a new phone in a zone that lacks service, or a credit card on zero that can't purchase. Hard to see the vision when you barely scratch surface. Most only dig deep when they bury 6 feet. To live to see a vision you sacrifice for miss sleep.
All right, the lights are on. Hashtag the lights are on. Don't forget, this is the Lights of the Roundtable. I'm Darius A. Stanton with Darlene Brown, Marcus Johnson, and our special guest, Messiah Ramkissoon. And do we have a show for you today? As you can see, man, that was such a powerful, powerful presentation. Vision. Darlene, did it take you all the way back to Brooklyn when you started doing your Harlem nights?
I got the chills. I mean, this is a bad brother right here. You know, words are so powerful. I love how you are not only enlightening and empowering us, but you're educating us with your words.
Love. Thank you, sister. I appreciate you.
Hey, I never forget the time we were doing a college tour. We were taking our children on college tours, and we were with Messiah. And he was giving us a tour around Howard University. And next thing you know, this girl runs up with her boyfriend, They holding hands. She said, oh my God, it's Messiah. Can I have a hug? And Messiah gives her a hug, and the boyfriend, he's sitting there looking like Willie Lump, like boom, 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 boom. And Messiah, he's so cool. He's like, peace, queen. How you doing?
It's that HU thing, baby.
And I said, wow, another time I was at a conference and these young ladies were interning and they were volunteering at the conference. And I noticed that they had Howard University on their tag. So I said, oh, wow, my brother goes to Howard. They said, yeah. I said, you might know him. His name's Messiah. Oh my God, Messiah's your brother? I know him. One girl said, I've even spoken to him. I even touched him. He gave me a hug. I was like, wow. But brother, you deserve all the accolades. Let me just share a few accolades about this young man. Messiah won the Apollo Theater, which is one of the toughest places to perform, but not only to perform, but to win amateur night at the Apollo, not once, not twice, but 3 times. As a matter of fact, there's a little clip of it with Monique saying, Messiah. If you go check it out, you will be definitely impressed. In addition to that, he also was the very first voice to open up the microphone at the unveiling of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. statue, which sits right now on the Mall in Washington, D.C. He was commissioned to do that poem. I could go on and on. He's performed at the Kennedy Center, performed with some of the greatest artists of all time. And today he's here with us. Matter of fact, he even interviewed Bishop Desmond Tutu at one point in time. Is that correct, Messiah?
Yes, that's correct.
Wow.
Look at, yes, so cool with it. That must be that HU thing, right? Messiah, man, thanks so much for being with us. You got a project out right now, Eye of Freedom. We want to talk about 3 things today. One, we want to talk about your product, Eye of Freedom, and how you decided that you wanted to dig deeper into hip hop to bring people away from the negative, vile, shoot your mama, beat your brother, steal, flash car, and really put people in a conscious mode to help people get to that next level. Then we want to talk about the work in our next segment. We want to talk about the work that you're doing in the New York City juvenile justice system. You also worked in Baltimore and state of Maryland, in the juvenile system here, go all over the country in terms of speaking, but how you work with juveniles at Rikers Island. So we want to come and talk about that. And then last but not least, in our third segment, we want to make sure that we understand what it is that people can do to actually impact their communities and make a difference by some of the work that you're doing, not only in New York City, but throughout the United States of America. So Messiah, tell us about Eye of Freedom and this new project, man. Vision was such a powerful song, but what made you want to, dig deeper into hip hop and bring people around?
Man, I think the want was something that was more magnetic. It was more of a pull than it was an intent at the time. And what I mean by that was I feel like I was really being spiritually led to something that I didn't preconceive in that immediate moment when I was creating this project. It was at a time where I really was not absorbed in music as I am now. Having a background, in the creative arts, it's always been something I've been like, it's been a part of my life, a part of my journey. However, in that moment, I was really focused more on my work with young people, still doing spoken word poetry, still performing in certain venues and spaces. However, it was more so around those elements. I wasn't really focused on music. And it was a brother who I would always see when I go to the facility at Rikers to check in with the young people and check in with the work that we're doing. And he would say, brother, what's up with your music, man? And he's a producer. He's a music producer. And long story short, it led to us doing a partnership where he, subcontracted with our organization, the Youth Justice Network, to do some work on Rikers Island, doing music programs with youth on Rikers. And when he came to meet with me so we could initiate, what we're about to partner on and discuss it, at the end of everything, and he signed the contract and we discussed the logistics, and he looked at me and he said, brother, I'm thankful for all of this, but it's a bigger world out there that needs your voice. And in that moment, I just knew that the music was calling me. And I really wanted it to be authentic and as genuine as possible. So I didn't really go into it too intentional. I wanted my spirit to kind of just be led by what needed to be said in that immediate moment. I just wanted to be a vessel. And, I was really just a sponge. So I would get off from work and come and cut music on, man, and just vibe and let the music tell me, paint the picture for me. And that's when it really dawned on me, doing this work for the last over 10 years with young people in the juvenile system and, even the work in the streets. I said freedom. People are lacking freedom in more ways than one. It's not always physical freedom when we talk about chains behind bars, but the freedom to self-love, the freedom to think for yourself outside the box, the freedom just to be, the freedom to those spiritual voids, that self-esteem piece, right? We look at the social media where people feel validated by likes or attention, right? So that freedom to really be who you are and be authentic in nature, freedom to be committed to truth, right? In a world where, we're saturated with propaganda. right? So it's so many layers to freedom where it was spiritual freedom, it's physical freedom. So I wanted to tap into the nuances of that. And that's pretty much what inspired this project, man.
You know, you talked about that freedom piece. Talk about what it's like, you know, to go in and work. You know, you said it, but I want people to really understand what it's like. We're talking about juveniles in one of the most notorious prisons in America and probably in the world, in Rikers Island. You know, these are young people who are now being charged as adults, who are juveniles in an adult system, separated in the population, but still nevertheless in that. What is it like just taking that journey, that ride to Rikers Island, that door closing, and then being in that space and knowing young people feeling like they're trapped, feeling like they don't know where to go. And you saw so many young people coming out. What was that feeling like that inspired you to write the music that you wrote?
Man, well, part of it came from that. You know, it came from a lot of different places as it relates to the project. But when you speak about Rikers, you know, Rikers it's a plantation. You know, if you know the history about Rikers Island, you know, the Rikers families were slave catchers. You know, the Rikers family, you know, back in the days when slaves tried to escape from the South to come up north, you know, they were slave catchers and would hold them in that area. So Rikers Island is something that, you know, was really evolution of that. And so, you know, when you think about the space, you know, the energy in itself, you know, has been holding demons for years, right? So many experiences when you talk about, you know, the notorious aspect of it, as you mentioned, right? The abuse, you know, the situations that relates to Khalif Browder, the young brother who was falsely accused of a robbery and, you know, spent 16 months to 2 years on Rikers Island and then came home and committed suicide because he was just a child who would go to school and never got into trouble, but was falsely accused of a robbery. Family didn't have money to bail him out, right? And was, you know, heavily abused on Rikers. And, you know, it's so many Khalif Browders, right? There's so many young people who shared those experiences and never had their stories told. So Rikers in itself was more of a purpose mission for me. It was a space for me to bring light amongst darkness. It was a space for me to connect with young people who didn't have an outlet to the light, right? They are trapped in this space where all you have is your mind. All you have is, you know, your quote unquote, what they call imagination or vision, right? And you have to use that. But if you don't have something to stimulate that, it's easy as an adolescent to get into trouble, to be idle, to look for mischief, because, you know, you're still evolving. Your brain is still developing. It's not even a natural space for you to be in, for human beings or animals to be in. The zoo is not a natural place for animals to be in. So why is prison okay for human beings, right? So when we think about the process, it's not a space that provides an outlet for healing. And so people tell, society tells our people, you know, stay out of jail, you know, be legit, be legal, go get a job, go, you know, but they never deal with the inequities that create the activities that lead to incarceration, mass incarceration altogether. Secondly, you know, no one comes from jail, or, you know, you experiencing so much trauma just from being there, right? You know, seclusion, right? I just interviewed a guy who spent 18 years in solitary confinement. Imagine what that does to the mind, right? So at the end of the day, my role there, my purpose there was really to give every mind that I came across the best that I had to offer, to meet them where they are, but not leave them where they are. So I used art, I used conversation, I used counseling, I used literature, I used music. I started doing outside of counseling work. I started doing monthly open mics in there to get young people to express themselves and write and have a stage where, you know, I would bring in 3 or 4 guest artists in the community to show them something different and to speak and engage and exchange with them. So it's layered in nature, brother, as you know, as someone who's done this work, Darius. So it started and still is more of a purpose mission for me before it became a partial career path, you know.
I mean, we like, okay.
Marcus, you on mute.
Yo, I'm sorry. I'm sitting here like saying like, wow, I just want to sit and listen to the documentary. I mean, of what you're talking about. I mean, because one, the direction, as you said, it was a purpose the purpose is calling you to places like Rikers. I did not know the history of Rikers. I'm not, from New York, and I don't know that. I know the industrial complex, or the prison industrial complex that we live in, and what we're doing. And I did know the story about Khalif, but.
And just think real quick, go ahead.
Marcus, I think he might be frozen, Darius.
I froze him, right? So real quick, while Marcus is coming back in, we talked about, or we watched, Messiah talk about Rikers Island being a plantation. But think about the correlation between a number of prisons around the country are on plantation lands.
Yeah, you go to
Go ahead, Marcus, back to you.
I'm so.
That's a real point, though. The amount of prisons on plantation land. Just in a few seconds, I want to say, I went to speak to some youth up in Adirondack, an hour below Canada, upstate New York, and that whole town survives off of private prisons, right? And the prisons run on top of the Underground Railroad where Harriet Tubman, blazed her trail. Right. So it's just interesting when you think about that and contrast that in terms of what that means today.
I mean, in Elmira, New York is very much the same way. They have 3 prisons in Elmira, New York, and I go and I've done a lot of work in the community there, and just to see it. And where I was going was, I don't know where I cut off, but I was just, for me, I knew some of the things that were going on. Let's say I knew about Khalif. What I didn't know about, I did not know the history of Rikers. But what was it like to talk to someone who was in solitary confinement for 18 years? You said, that has to mess with your mind. And then I know you were moving on to the next point, but now I want to stop there. Give us some insight into, how do you even have that conversation without being just the whole time, man, I'm so sorry for you. Or from a positive place, but with that empathy.
Right. Well, this is a brother who, a brother who I met, not even on Rikers, but doing the work, right? He came to our organization and expressed interest in wanting to be a part of the team, and he expressed his story. And he's from Tampa, Florida, but he went to jail at the age of 13 for a robbery where the gun accidentally went off and shot the victim. And he was given a double life sentence with no parole. And while he was locked up, like I said, he went to jail at the age of 13. So even though he was 13, he was placed in an adult facility, and hence that was the reason he was placed in solitary confinement. But even before the age of 13, his life was just, he had been through so much. And so you should check him out. His name is Ian Manuel. He just released a book called My Time Will Come. And, he got home, he returned home because Brian Stevenson, civil attorney Brian Stevenson, who, they featured in that movie, Just Mercy, his organization, Equal Justice Initiative, intervened and supported this brother and brought him home. So, he has a real heavy story and something that I think is impactful. So, and he's doing his thing right now. He was just on the Trevor Noah show a couple of nights ago, all this around his new book release. So he's definitely seeking them up.
So listen, we want you to make sure you follow. How can people follow you, Messiah?
Man, you can follow me at Messiah Ramkissoon, MESSIAH RAMKISSOON. That's Messiah Ramkissoon. MessiahRamkissoon.com. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, YouTube/Messiah Ramkissoon. Stream the music on Spotify, Tidal, the Eye of Freedom. We got a lot more music coming. And so, All
right. Well, we're gonna catch some more of that music when we come back from the break. This quick commercial break, we're gonna look at Love Me off of the Eye of Freedom with Messiah Ramkissoon. This Darius A. Stanton, Darlene Brown, and Marcus Johnson, Lights of the Roundtable. We'll be right back.
Love me for love is the greatest luxury. Love me publicly, love me despite what my budget be. Love me through addiction, through relapse and recovery. Love me through poverty. Once you love, don't stop loving me. Like the city of brotherly love, love me for my roots. Might not say what you wanna hear, love me for the truth. Don't just love me for my juice when you need a sip. Love me when I'm down to my last strip and need a flip. Don't love me when I'm down, but love when I'm up, need a dick. Love me regardless of the consequences of leadership. Love me when they say I'm a piece of shit, a Nobel Prize me. Through the paparazzi in the hotel lobby, or if Cointel sabotage me, no Bill Cosby. Love me when you can't monetize me like Ronald Osley. You love money, that money got many men doing bids. Would you love me or do me like Mr. Biggs? Through hardships, love me. Through conflicts, love me. The streets gon' talk, through the gossip, love me. Don't hate.
Hashtag the lights are on. This is Darius A. Stanton. Welcome back to the Lights of the Roundtable. I'm also here with the Queen.
Darlene Brown.
And the brother, the king himself.
Marcus Johnson.
And all other lights are on right now. Our brother, Messiah Ramkissoon. Wow, what a powerful piece. Love Me. Great day in the morning, King. What inspired you to write Love Me, Messiah Ramkissoon? Thanks so much for being a part of the Lights of the Roundtable show today.
Happy to be here, brother. Love Me was just really inspired by, looking at what love really means and really wanting to present the conversation that took love back to its origin, which is realness, which is sometimes not the most convenient, but it's sincere. And so Love Me came from a real place and wanting to juxtapose real from what a lot of people may confuse as love nowadays, but still leaves them feeling that void. So you think about lyrics like love me for me, because love is the greatest luxury. Love me publicly, love me despite what my budget be. Love me through addiction, through relapse and recovery. Those are things that I feel like human beings deal with in this world and society. We talk about mass incarceration earlier. When people are at their lowest is when they need the most love. But instead of giving them that love that they need and that nourishment that they need, we throw them away, right? We cancel them, we outcast them, as opposed to seeing how we can nurture and support them as valuable human beings. So Love Me is something that I wanted to present as a conversation, not just that was meaningful for me and personal to me, because part of the record is, but something that I feel like is universal in the sense that we all could connect to, because we all revolve around love. We all need love. And it's something that I just feel like as a conversation, as a songwriter, it's a message that we need to get back to, which is love.
Wow, you said that the people who need the most love are the ones that are getting the least amount of love. They're locking people up. They need the most love. They've been traumatized. If you go look at the backgrounds, the juveniles that you dealt with, both in New York City, the state of Maryland, around the country, 70% of juveniles in the state of Maryland have either been abused or neglected. And when you think about the teens in Baltimore City that have been victims of homicide, if they live to be 17 years old, 90% of them had a case of child abuse and neglect filed on their behalf, which means that somebody had to file a child abuse or neglect case for the person who perpetrated or were a victim of a violent crime as a juvenile or teenager in Baltimore City. My point is, to your point, we need love. And you work with a lot of powerful artists. How is it that, you saw the need to take hip hop from where it was, just the glamorification of violence and the objectivity of cars and the whole, over-sexualization of women and disrespecting of women and ourselves. You decided that, I want to get in, I want to rock it, I want the beats to be hot, but I want my lyrics to be something that's going to take us to another level. Who are some of the people that helped you, in that process? I see with David Bann, I know you've been with the Last Poets. Who are some of the people that really made you make that shift to say, what, I want to jump into this space?
Man, I will start with my family, man. Before I start with people that I connect. I mean, definitely, it takes nothing away from people who've been more recent in my career paths and work. So many people have inspired me in so many ways. I will be doing a huge disservice to just name a few because but I would start with my parents. I would start with me being a child who was blessed to connected with visionaries as my parents, who saw things that I didn't immediately see in that time capsule, but was able to give me certain ingredients to nourish me mentally, spiritually, so I could really find purpose in my voice. Because if it wasn't for that, I could have been rapping about anything, as you mentioned earlier. And my role in this is not to condescend those who haven't found their way yet. Right? A lot of people have a very linear perspective just based on their limited vantage point. And they didn't have the blessing that some of us had to be exposed to certain people along their paths, to have those conversations with them, to introduce them to certain thought concepts, to help to nourish them or even see their value, right? So, those of us who have those things, we have a responsibility, such as myself. And so it would have been very much me not keeping it real to be pursuing this and not living up to that responsibility. So, brother, it starts there, but I would also,
it starts at home, huh?
I would also.
I'm gonna let the folks know. I'm gonna let them in on a little secret. Messiah was writing books of prayers to God at 2 years old.
What? No wonder he sound the way he does.
Yeah.
At 2 years old, he wrote a book of prayers to God. A book, like, I don't know, 20 pages. I'm not sure. I can't remember the numbers. But a book of prayers to God at 2. That's how focused and in tune. So he definitely got supported, nourished by, the family, but he was born with it, which we talked about. You talked about something else beside it. We're going to come back to a little later, but I definitely want to just put it in a parking lot. And that was how, as influencers, we tend to attack and speak negatively to each other. And we, in one of our production meetings, Darlene brought the fact that we need to bring some of these other influencers on to have them talk about that, like Boyce Watkins and Umar Johnson and other brothers that are out there influencing folks, and how that is making a difference in terms of how we talk and treat each other. But, back to the folks that you work with that inspired you to do this kind of, to make this move into hip hop.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
The people that you've also tapped,
Oh yeah, man.
We saw the piece. We saw the piece with the brother, one of your David Banner, who was out there.
I met David Banner at the Source Magazine event a few years ago. This was about 4 years ago. The Source Magazine, they do a conference annually called Source 360, just about different topics and issues that affect the community. They bring together artists and creatives from different places. And so David Banner was on a panel. I was actually booked there to perform at the Source's block party, which was outside of the venue where the panel was held. And so I went in after I performed to check out the panel that David Banner was on. And it was moderated by Reverend Lennox Earwood from the Hip Hop Caucus. So when he saw me in the audience, he called me up to the stage and said, "Hey, can everybody give us a verse? Can everybody, the artists up here spit something?" And he's like, "I'm gonna ask my brother to join y'all." I'm gonna ask my brother Messiah to join y'all. So, so early on in the panel, a brother in the audience asked a question to David Banner and the panelists about how hip hop can be more of a catalyst for change as it relates to health in our community. And so I heard that question. So when I went up to perform my verse, I told the brother I wanted to respond to his question about health. And I spit a verse that pretty much was centered around health and, the food just killing us and things that we need to pay attention to. So that's how that came about. But brother, I would say the open mic scene, the poets, I spent a lot of time around the poets, DC, Maryland. I have my own little crew when I was a teenager called Royal Alliance out in Annapolis, Maryland. And, we used to be sharpening each other's swords and recording, 3, 4 in the morning and writing and really, motivating each other. I had different artists who, we would just spar with each other creatively. So being exposed to so many amazing creatives, not just creatives, but people who spoke life into my talent. When you come off stage and you have people there to hold your hand and say, "Young man, keep doing what you're doing." I've had old women hold me and embrace me and just talk to me and speak life into me after hearing my words. So things like that, it lets you know that God is working and it's bigger than you. And you got to just keep doing what you're born to do. So I would say that, it's been layered. The young people in the facilities, we speak about them, and it was so ironic how I got the Rikers because I was meeting with an organization, and they were talking about where they wanted to place me in terms of work at that time. This is 2012. And after interviewing with them, you know, I got a call from one of my brothers, Eton Thomas, who played basketball in the NBA. And Eton said, yo, we're doing a panel on Rikers, and I want you to come through and spit something. So I was like, cool, let's do it. He said, we're doing it for the adolescent boys. So I said, fine. And he brought together some people, you know, from like entertainment and basketball. And we went in there and we did it. And a week later, the same organization called me and said, yo, we actually, you know, even though we interviewed you for a community position, you know, we've been thinking about a position we have on Rikers Island. And we see that you have background work. I said, I was just on Rikers a few days ago. I said, I would love to be there. That's actually where I want to work, right? The people I want to connect with. And so my first day on Rikers, every young person in the facility knew who I was because of the fact I was just there speaking to them 3 days before in the gymnasium.
Look at God, look at God, look at God. Set the relationship up.
And so it blazed the trail for like us to connect on an even closer level. So every classroom I walked into, they just wanted me to rhyme, man, because that's what they heard me do. So I said, listen, we're here to do more than just rap. But the art was such a huge component in terms of connection, relationship building, because like I said, you know, they would come into class bringing me all their poems and raps. And so I started doing a monthly open mic outside of work. I said, you know what, we're going to start doing a monthly show. I'm going to talk to the captain of programs in here. I sat with her. She took the idea and we started doing monthly shows, and they let us use the chapel, and they would bring down the brothers to watch, and we would have the brothers who performed. And, you know, I would coach them, you know, I used to tell them like, no glorification of death, no disrespect of women, but we're going to tell our truths, and we're going to be transparent, and we're going to be genuine about it. But, you know, they got out there and it was beautiful, man. And that in itself inspired me in a lot of ways too.
Besides, what would you say to the people in the community, like, about doing that before those kids get in there? Like, and so what you said, I mean, you broke it down. Here's what we're not going to do. Can you talk about the importance of that and the importance of your family? I mean, you talked about your family. The first thing you said was, forget it. Yeah, David Banner and all that. That's great. You can talk about the names. I get the affiliation and everything like that. But let me tell you about my peeps and how important it is for us as fathers and mothers and uncles and, you know, family in general, our responsibility to our next generation, number one, and the things that we should be telling.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it goes back to that saying, prevention is better than cure. You know, we have to become more proactive in how we do things as a society, you know. There's so many ways I could answer that question because it depends on who the audience is that we're talking about, right? So from a hierarchy lens, I would say that, you know, it is profitable to keep prisons open, right? So it may be more of an incentive, since it's profitable, to invest on the back end versus proactive. It's, you know, so on the back end, we think about reentry services, right? Some of what I do, right? Which is still needed, because if your son, your daughter, your nephew is in there, you want to know that there's intervention, that there's a bridge, there's something that supports them so they don't keep repeating that cycle. At least do our best to provide that support. On the flip side of that coin, you know, as a society, you know, I think that's the progressive thinking in terms of how we put resources on the front end to say, we're blocking this pipeline. It's not even a pipeline anymore because it's blocked, right? And so in order to do that, it takes resources. It takes empowering those who are credible from the community. We have those credible messengers. We just, you know, we're not empowering them the way that we should. And so I strive to do that to the best of my ability when resources are at the table, to really make sure I'm engaging the folks who I know are credible, who I know are powerful, who I know are seasoned in this work and have the ability to really be able to connect with a young person and help them on that transitional path in a way that's meaningful and doesn't just scratch the surface. So, you know, but the family piece. And as we do this work more and more, we see that, you know, it's not just about connecting with the young people, but in order to really be effective, you got to include mom and dad. You know, you have to have conversations with the parents. The parents also need support and healing. And so it's difficult because organizations are very siloed. So you have organizations who focus specifically on youth. You have organizations who sometimes focus on adults, but really being able to have that holistic approach with the family component, I think, is where on the grassroots level, how we affect change. On the hierarchy level, it's about dumping resources where it's needed on that front end. So,
wow, that is awesome. I want to just applaud you for saying what we know here on the Lights of the Round Table, that it starts at home, right? And that is where our first learning occurs, is in the home, whether that's through your mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, whomever is in the home as a child growing up. That is where you're learning your values. That is where your frame of reference for outside is developed. And so I just applaud you for acknowledging them, because I think so often when we are elevated, when we ascend to higher levels, and we do meet celebrities, that we tend to forget the support that was there in the beginning before we have made those success and those accomplishments. So I am grateful to you for being that transparent and saying, wait a minute, before we get to them, let's talk about that, because I think that says a lot about who you are. I think it also shows up in the body of work that you've been able to provide to all of us, right? That it comes through in what you write, in your poetry. And so I just want to continue to support and encourage and pray and speak life over you on your journey as the people that you have yet to meet, that you will impart inspiration, courage, a dose of your courage, because I know it's needed, into them.
And a shout out to your parents, man, too, because I watch it with my kids. I know how it is with my dad, and the impact that I had with all of my parents. I have 2 step parents that were great, but the fact that they allowed you to be who you were. And, when we talk about learning to be intimate and learning to be able to provide and see back in the community, one of the key components that we're seeing is the idea that, or the component of allowance, and allowing Messiah to be a 2-year-old writing to God, and then allowing Messiah to use spoken word and pushing you along, not necessarily. And I'm sure you have similar journeys like me. My parents like, hey, look, what are you going to do? And then, how are you going to make money? You went to Howard, you're in communications, you're doing what? But at the same time, that's their love. But at the same time, they really did set up a scenario where somewhere in your head and along with your higher power, you were able to be you. You were allowed to be you, which allows you to go in front of other people and say, I understand you. I see you. Let's go and figure out where we're going. I love it.
Hey, on that note, let's see if we can check out this commercial. We'll be right back with the Lights of the Round Table. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Check us out. There's our website down below. Also, when we come back, speaking of family, you're going to see a clip of Messiah's powerful Black Fathers video. So check it out. This is the Lights of the Round Table. Don't forget hashtag the lights are on. And while we're doing a commercial in the chat, make sure you put your favorite Messiah Ramkissoon song or album. I know a lot of, there's so many that out there. He's got so many hits, so many favorites. The brother's powerful. He might even drop another little piece for us on Black Fathers when we come back on the Lights of the Round Table. Hashtag the lights are on.
Black fathers are legendary. Watching He Got Game coming from the hood, often misunderstood, but still, black fathers are necessary. Fighting the penitentiary as well as the cemetery. Only right I wrote a song made for my brothers. And whether or not you get along with your baby mothers, our babies love us, our babies need us. He just might be that black father, the baby Jesus. More precious than a stone from Sierra Leone. That's a child of a black father, the heir to the throne. Before mine and that diamond in the dirt don't come out shining, they come out muddy. Babies born bloody before the huggies and onesies. Birth from the black essence, so it's unnatural for a black father to lack presence. There to provide lessons when babies ask questions, to guide them through imperfections, doubts and transgressions, to teach a foreign language about the ancestors.
Hey, welcome back. This is Darius A. Stanton, and the lights are on. I'm here with Queen
Darlene Brown
and King
Marcus Johnson, y'all.
That's right. And our light for the day, and hopefully our light for every month, if we can get the brother to come back. Messiah Ramkissoon, peace and love, King. Welcome back to the Lights of the Round Table.
Peace and love, brother.
Man, that Black Fathers, we were talking about family and it's starting at home, and you talked about, you know, just how impactful your family has been, or our family has been, to the development of your work. But that Black Fathers piece, give us just a little bit more, man. The video was tight, but just tie us up a little more with that Black Father.
As far as like what inspired it, you mean? Like,
well, it would inspire it, but we want a little more the live, raw Messiah Ramkissoon word.
Okay, man, all right. What is it? No Need for Fame, Black Fathers are legendary. Coming from the hood, often misunderstood, but still Black fathers are necessary. Only right I wrote a song made for my brothers. And whether or not you get along with your baby mothers, our babies love us, our babies need us. He just might be that Black father of baby Jesus. Black fathers are legendary. Let's call names. LeBron James, not because he win ball games or wear ball mains or could take it to the hole or shoot long range, because he take care of home beyond just suits and ball mains. Robert Nesta Marley, you could never discredit. Died young, but left a legacy his children inherit with them in spirit. El Hajj Malik, MLK, it creates fear how a Black father could be here now, dead next day. Bow heads, let's pray for the fathers turn martyrs. George Washington, Carvers, and Marcus. Black fathers never die, they multiply like the square root of pi. Same rules apply, whether you shoe shine or wear suit and tie. The line of work don't define the worth of you and I. Never saw my pops work for another man. A mentality I don't expect this world to understand. No need for fame, Black fathers are legendary. Coming from the hood, often misunderstood. Yeah, but yeah, that's it, brother. I butchered the chorus. I butchered the chorus a little bit, though.
Messiah, you go. That's all I got for you is this.
Yeah, man.
This. Woo!
Black fathers are legendary. You see how he did the pose and then he did the pause in that joint and brought the
And the necessary.
Yes, yo, hey man, speaking of poetry and spoken word, you know, Marcus is a musician. He performs in front of people. Darlene is a speaker. She speaks in front of people. Yeah. I speak in front of people. But I have never, now I've been in some crowds that looked at me crazy. One time I was a guest speaker at a gospel concert and I was supposed to be up there talking about say no to drugs. And them good Christian people was looking at me like, what is he talking about? We ain't come here for that. We came here for the good gospel, right?
Right.
Messiah, what was it like performing at the world famous Apollo Theater and winning not once, not twice, but 3 times a lady? What was that experience like?
Oh man, it was shocking, you know what I mean? Because I was watching Apollo as a young child. You know, I used to look at the Sandman jump off the balcony and go dance, tap people out of there. And so, you know, I never thought or knew I would be on that Apollo stage one day ever. And so when that happened, it was one thing to find out that I made the show, but it was another thing to find out that I won the first show. And you know, like I said, it was surreal, man. So it was inspirational because we know the legacy of the Apollo, what that means for our culture as it relates to music and history. It's one of the things that we still have, thank God. So, yeah, great experience, brother. And I think it also helped to teach me some lessons as far as a performer, being able to engage that audience that feels like the lion's den. You know, it's like you're in the lion's den. You know, that audience, they come there to tear you apart, and you got to have your thing together because one choke, anything, you know, you out of there. And there are people who come at that time. When I did Apollo, Harlem was less gentrified, so it was just young people from the neighborhood who came to boo anybody who wasn't their person. So if your person was performing, you know, you there to support them and boo everybody who's not them to increase the likelihood of your person winning. So it was a different type of climate, and I think it was a great lesson for my own creative pathway, man.
You know, the thing about it to me, and I happened to be there, like we were the very last people to get in the door the day that you won. It was freezing cold outside, but the most amazing thing, most of the time when people come on the Apollo, they've got music or they've got they singing or they got an instrument or something. All you had was the voice, the word. You had no music, You had no beat behind you. You had no DJ. It was just you, the mic, and the word. And the people never, ever, it was never even a question, Sharika was a champ, man. So hats off to you, brother. The success, you've been a fan of Monique's ever since you won that show, Baltimore's own. So, now, Masai, let's talk about just being in that space now, where you're out there creating and you putting that energy. This Eye of Freedom project, you got people that are watching all over the world. You seeing what's going on with the social justice movement. How do you see hip hop evolving and continuing media and music to have an impact on what's happening from a social justice perspective?
I think that's a powerful statement. I mean, you have, I think it's, you see it happening. You have a lot more artists who are stepping up and being a part of that conversation, putting songs out, saying things in their lyrics, doing their best to affect change, whether it's on the health piece, on the environmentalism piece, on, social justice piece. So it's real, but I think we also have a long way to go still. However, the purpose and the potential of art, the potential of music to have impact, to affect change is infinite. I mean, we spoke earlier about how people connect to music, how, young people on Rikers connected to my artistry, and how that was, a segue for everything else I was there to do. So at the end of the day, it's about us stepping up and remembering our impact, remembering our potential, remembering, the fact that we have a voice that people listen to and respond to. And we have to use that, in a way that affects change, that pushes our young people and our culture forward. So it's about embracing that responsibility and stepping up to the plate. You know what I mean? So I feel like we all owe it to ourselves. We owe it to those who came before us. And we owe it to the generations coming after us.
Do video games? Frances Cress Welsing said in one of her quotes, many messages, that we're the only people who spend a great deal of time in our music and art form degrading and disrespecting ourselves. How do you see that impacting? Do these things really impact us? Do people really move off that? Does the music really have an impact on people's lives? Some people say it's just entertainment. Video games that are shooting and killing, they say that's just entertainment. What's your say?
Of course, there's so many impressionable people out here. There's so many weak minds. There's so many minds that haven't even had a chance to develop yet. So you're being shaped by everything that you consume. It says a man thinketh so is he. So if this is what we're feeding our thoughts, if this is what we're feeding the vibrations that we are pouring into ourselves 24/7, then of course it's going to have an effect. It's just like the foods that we eat, right? You can't eat toxic food and expect a healthy body. So, of course you have people who may listen to things and not be motivated to go and do what the lyrics are saying to do. But it does carry a vibration, and it may not lead to you, producing an action that aligns with the lyric, but it does put you in a certain vibration where you can feel more aggressive, you can feel more depressed, you can feel happier and joyful, right? You can feel inspired and want to get up and say, you know what? I'm gonna go clean the house today and go handle this goal that I've been putting off for the last 3 weeks, right? So we can't, anyone who says that music doesn't have a role in terms of impacting outcome or society, I don't think that's true, So like I said, it's about us understanding our power. And I don't know if a lot of artists even understand their power. But another thing too, we're in a time where a lot of artists don't have mentorship. A lot of artists are getting put out in the public very young, from their, respective humble beginnings. And they are just, being put in front, an investment or an investor, and saying, hey, you have a platform, and no one is guiding them, So we see a lot of artists dying very young, being killed very young in this time, right? Because the people who were profiting from them never cared to support them mentally, to support their growth, to say, hey, that might not be a good look. That particular lyric might get you killed, right? It might make people want to come looking for you. And so the mentorship piece is lacking. It's just about the money. It's about how many views can you get? How many likes can you get? How many streams can you get? Can you go viral? And how much money can we make off of this? But no one is, you know, really pouring into developing the artists and how it affects culture. That's a conversation that I don't think folks are unaware of, but I feel like they've been avoiding because it's like the prison industrial complex. It's about profit.
Yeah, they don't want to be accountable for the effects of what they're producing, but they want to reap the profits of what they're producing. It's one of the 7 deadly sins. It's called greed. And greed is not motivated by compassion and humanity. It's fed by ego. And so not only do I think, because I'm from New York, born and raised in the boogie down where hip hop was found. So I understand it as a poet. I also understand the power of the spoken words and that the words we speak carry an energy. And when we listen to music, there is an energy frequency in it that does have an effect on our mind and on our aura, our energetic aura. And if you're listening to aggressive music that has words and lyrical content that is of a dark nature meaning it is not speaking of the light and love or creative energy of your potential and you living your life at your optimal best. If it's not doing that, then it's not feeding the light that you were born in. That means it's feeding something dark that you might be carrying. The dark that you might be carrying might be an unhealed wound, might be trauma from your childhood, might be experience from living in an environment that daily feeds you messages that you are less than, that you are not worthy, that you don't deserve to be here. And as a people, when we absorb all of that, then it shifts our thinking. So it's very important for us. And here on the Lights of the Roundtable, you know, we talk about this, being accountable for you to co-create the life you choose with the divine power that flows through you, to align and connect with that, so that we no longer move from a place of deficit, but we move from a place of abundance, because we are an abundant people. We are abundantly blessed, but we really do have to make an intentional decision to feed the light. And that's what you're getting here on the Lights of the Roundtable every week. We are bringing you positive media, information, knowledge, and we are shining the spotlight on people who are lighting up the pathway that helps others. Kudos to you, my brother.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, with the Howard shirt on, you know, I'm very proud to see. Well, I'm proud to see any brother, but of course, having gone to Howard, it's a great thing. And the intentionality that Darlene is talking about, and, you know, I'm quiet and more quiet than usual because I'm just thinking, like, what you've done for me is, it's like, okay, it's presenting me with a problem, which is, how do we pull all this stuff together to get people to become a little bit more compassionate and gentle, both with themselves, number one, and then with others? Because, you know, when you talk about, you know, being in jail, you're talking about judgment. When you're talking about, you know, writing lyrics and that aren't, you know, uplifting, you're talking about some level of judgment. And it is like, I think as we are shining the light on things, it is on the process of also compassion, gentleness, you know, that whole wellness, self-care, and self-care of yourself, your inner self, the people around you, your family, close family, your friends, and your community, and really understanding that you may want to run from it if you want to, but it's a law of God. It's a law of nature that you must be intentionally engaged in your community. And if you don't, this is the result that you'll see. And really telling people, you don't have to listen if you don't want to, but you're going to have people running around shooting at you, raping, stealing, et cetera, et cetera, if you don't go back into a school and mentor. You said mentorship is so important on so many different levels, and all throughout this, you know, throughout your interview and your talk, we have to tell people it is imperative. It is not a choice, right? You can choose not to, but if you want a healthy community, you must seed into it yourself.
Right.
So I appreciate that, man.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Yes,
we at that time. We're at that time. Just the lights are on, the chats are buzzing. Everybody's loving them. Messiah, again, share how people can reach you.
Yes. You could reach me on social media, Messiah Ramkissoon, Messiah Messiah, Ramkissoon Ramkissoon. Yeah, I mean, let's build, let's connect. Check out the new single Vision, the project Eye of Freedom, the Eye of Freedom on all streaming platforms. And we got so much more music coming. It's going to be a great summer, a great year. I'm thankful for you all, for the platform that you have, bringing light to the people. We need this channel to be global, man. So I'm praying life into everything that y'all doing. And you have my support as well. Thank you for having me.
Hey, well, you know how we say the lights are on. Thank you, King. And we're going to end our show today with, speaking of money and greed and talking about what we shouldn't be focused on. Messiah's last piece that he's going to share with us. We're going to play this video as we close the show called Money. Now you have some insight into the Lights of the Round Table and our experience. We'll bring you this to each and every episode. So please share this link. Visit this website at the www.thelightsoftheroundtable.com. We are on IG. Subscribe to us on YouTube and make sure you like us on media. We look forward to continuing to share this light with you. I'm Darius A. Stanton.
Darlene Brown.
And I'm Marcus Johnson.
And that's the Messiah King Lights of the Round Table. Hey, don't forget, hashtag the lights are on.
Lights are on.
Hey, enjoy that money move. Peace. And love.
And love.
Yeah. M-O-N-E-Y. I seen money turn a God prophet to a false prophet. Turn a non-profit to a for-profit. All for that top list in the Forbes profit. Warm pockets, a top list in the warm tropics. Money could either build or destroy you. Could make you do a bid or employ you. I seen money become the goal of an activist. Seen people who seen money but never seen happiness. You make niggas bag up, sell crack to their mother. You make niggas stab the back of their brother. You the reason niggas sell to strangers, get bagged by undercover. Damn money, you a bad motherfucker. Damn money, it's mad funny, same time sad money. The false hope you gave those who never had money. I mean, what's good money? What's bad money? Trapping, not filing taxes or driving taxi for cab money. Watching privileged kids live off their dad money. In this village, kids live off nickel.